All right, so picture this. You're a teenager, and you manage to hack into Rockstar Games.
The makers of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, exactly, like one of the most secretive companies in the gaming world.
And we're talking seriously secretive.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into, like, all things Rockstar secrecy.
We're going to try to figure out why they're so hush-hush, how they manage to keep things under wraps, and what happens when those secrets actually do get out.
You know, because inevitably sometimes they do.
Right, because nothing is perfect.
And to help us crack this code, we've got some awesome sources lined up. We've got this really cool video investigation that maps out their whole global network of studios.
It's crazy how many studios they have.
I know, right? And we've also got stories from actors who've actually worked on these iconic games.
Yeah, hearing it straight from the source is always really interesting.
Absolutely. And get this, we even get a little peek into Rockstar's own philosophy about keeping things so quiet.
Like, is it intentional, or is it just how they operate?
Yeah, great question. Some people even say that Rockstar's NDAs make Marvel movie contracts look like child's play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know, right? It's intense.
Wow.
So let's kick things off with a story that pretty much shook the gaming world. The GTA 6 leak back in 2022.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So this teenager named Ariane Kurtaj somehow used social engineering to get into Rockstar's internal communications in India.
Kind of amazing he was able to pull that off.
I know, right? And bam, early development footage was all over the internet.
I remember that. Yeah, it was everywhere.
It was crazy, and that little incident cost Rockstar an estimated $5 million.
Seriously.
Yeah, and it exposed some vulnerabilities in their global operation.
It's interesting to think about, though, right? Like, just one of their studios can have over 1,000 employees.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's a lot of potential weak points when it comes to keeping secrets.
So many people.
Right. It's like trying to contain a wildfire.
Totally, and especially when you consider that Rockstar isn't just one central location.
Yeah.
They've got this whole web of studios all over the globe.
Yeah, all contributing to this game development machine.
Exactly, each one playing a specific role.
Like a well-oiled machine.
Okay, so get this. They have this dedicated motion capture studio, which is where they record actors' movements to create, those super realistic animations in the games.
Oh, yeah.
And it's tucked away in a secret location on Long Island.
They don't want anyone to find it.
Nope, super secret. Then you've got Rockstar Lincoln, which focuses on quality assurance.
Making sure everything's polished.
Yeah, bug-free and ready to go. And they operate under some pretty intense security measures.
Like, what kind of measures are we talking about?
Okay, so no phones allowed.
What?
Seriously. And they black out the windows at night to prevent any kind of drone surveillance.
Wow, they're not messing around.
Not at all. And get this, they even had a real-life heist in Toronto where thieves unknowingly stole equipment that belonged to Rockstar.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
It's like something straight out of a video game, right?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
You'd think they were being, like, overly cautious, but when you think about how far people will go to steal intellectual property,
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's actually pretty understandable.
It's serious business.
And this whole culture of secrecy, it goes way beyond physical security.
Right, it's about the people, too.
Yeah, developers, actors, anyone who works with Rockstar, they're all bound by these super strict NDAs.
Non-disclosure agreements.
Yep.
Can't say a word.
Exactly. There are even stories about actors being escorted to the bathroom and not knowing the real project name until they're well into production.
Oh, come on.
I know, right? And get this, Roger Clark, the voice of Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, yeah, I love that game.
He actually compared Rockstar's NDAs to the ones for Marvel movies.
Oh, wow.
And suggests that Rockstar's were even more intense.
That's crazy.
I know, right? Like, imagine pouring your heart and soul into a project, but you can't talk about it with anyone.
Right. And you don't even fully understand the story you're a part of.
It's wild. It really shows how far they go to keep things under wraps.
It's pretty impressive in a way.
It is. But then there's Take-Two Interactive, Rockstar's parent company.
Oh, yeah. They're known for being pretty aggressive when it comes to protecting Rockstar's intellectual property.
Oh, yeah, they're not messing around.
No, they are not.
They're known for using legal means to shut things down.
Like lawsuits and stuff?
Oh, yeah. We're talking suing a review site for $1 million.
Oh, okay.
And they briefly made single-player modding, which is basically just fans creating their own modifications to the game, illegal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And get this, they even raided a teenager's home for having a PlayStation 3 development console with beta content on it.
That seems a little extreme.
It does, right. But it sends a clear message.
Don't mess with Rockstar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then there's that whole 5mm situation.
5M, Oh, yeah. That's where things get a little complicated.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So, at first, Rockstar tried to shut down 5M, which was the super popular multiplayer mod for GTA 5.
I've heard of that.
They even sent private investigators to talk to the team behind it. But then they did something really unexpected.
Well, they changed their minds.
Yeah, instead of suing them, they actually brought the 5M team into the fold.
Really?
Yeah, it was a pretty pivotal moment. It showed that their thinking was evolving.
Interesting. So they went from trying to shut it down to embracing it.
Yeah, and it kind of signaled this move toward becoming even more closed off as they got bigger and more successful.
Makes sense. The bigger you get, the more you have to protect, I guess.
Right. It's like they realized they could control the story better by being less accessible.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, so think about it. They got rid of comments on their newswires, they shut down those Q&A sessions and community live streams, and they stopped going to those big gaming conferences like E3.
Oh, yeah, no more E3.
And Sam Hauser, one of the founders, he called E3 a willy-waving exercise.
Ouch.
I know, right?
It sounds like they really wanted to control their image and communication.
Absolutely. And it's not just online. They also canceled a documentary about the making of GTA 5.
What? No way.
Yeah, and 3 books that were planned about Rockstar's history.
So they really want to manage how their story is told.
It seems that way. It's all about keeping that mystique alive, preventing brand burnout, and making sure that when a new game comes out, it has the biggest impact possible.
It's like saying to the fans, trust us, it'll be worth the wait.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
you know, they were adamant that they weren't working on single-player DLC for GTA 5.
Downloadable content.
Yeah, even though there were announcements and former employees confirming that it existed.
Really?
Yeah, there was even evidence in leaked source code, but they stuck to their guns.
Classic Rockstar.
Right. It's all part of their plan.
It's all strategic.
But it begs the question, why all the secrecy in the first place? Is it really just about controlling the message, or is there something more to it?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. And we're going to try to answer in this deep dive, so stay tuned.
Yeah, it's like they really want to maintain that distance.
And it goes beyond just the games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You think about the top executives at Rockstar, they rarely do interviews.
Right.
They don't really appear in public.
They're like ghosts.
It's like they want to stay hidden.
Huh.
And remember when Rockstar Games was listed as the recipient for a bunch of awards at the BAFTAs?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of the actual people who worked on the games.
Right, like the individuals.
Yeah, and they even refused to accept personal recognition unless it went to the whole company.
Wow.
Pretty powerful statement.
Yeah, it's like they're saying we're all in this together.
Right. The game is the star.
Yeah, the team effort.
But is that enough for gamers these days?
What do you mean?
Well, gamers are looking for a more personal connection with the creators.
Right.
And we see other studios really embracing that transparency.
Good, putting themselves out there.
Sharing behind-the-scenes stuff.
Engaging with the fans.
Exactly. It feels like Rockstar is kind of swimming against the current.
Yeah, but they're creating this, like, vacuum.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know, it gets filled with speculation and hype and anticipation.
It's brilliant marketing.
Total.
Yeah.
It keeps people talking.
Keeps them guessing.
And they're good at what they do.
Oh, yeah, their games are amazing.
So people are willing to wait.
Right.
They trust that the silence is going to be worth it?
But what about the downside?
What do you mean?
What about the players who want more engagement?
Right. They want to feel like they're a part of something.
Exactly. Does this secrecy actually hurt their connection with the fan base?
It's a good question. Some would say that this lack of communication can create, like, unrealistic expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Leading to disappointment if the game doesn't live up to the hype.
Right. It's like waiting years for a birthday present and then you just get socks.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
And let's be honest, not every Rockstar game has been a masterpiece.
They've had some missteps.
They have, but even when things go wrong, they tend to stay silent.
Just let the storm pass.
Right. It's all about controlling the narrative.
Even when it's negative.
Yep. By not engaging, they avoid making things worse.
Right. It's like they're playing the long game.
So is this secrecy ultimately doing more harm than good?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It really depends on who you ask.
Right.
Some people love the mystery.
Yeah, the slow burn.
Right? The feeling of being in the dark.
Others find it frustrating.
Yeah.
Maybe even alienating.
It's a matter of personal preference.
That's true. But you gotta admit, their approach is effective.
Oh, totally.
They've created this brand that's all about secrecy.
And that secrecy has become like a marketing tool.
Exactly. It's fascinating.
It really is. It's like a case study in how to manage your public image.
And control the flow of information.
And you see this in other industries, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like tech and entertainment.
Think about Apple.
Oh, yeah.
They're super secretive about their new products.
Creates a ton of buzz.
And it's not just about the hype. It's
Right?
about protecting their ideas,
Yeah.
controlling the narrative.
And making money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a business strategy.
But what about the art of it all?
The creative process?
Yeah. Does all this secrecy stifle innovation and collaboration?
So I would argue that, yeah.
Like, if everyone's too scared to share their ideas,
Right. Then we all end up making the same game.
and that's not good for anyone.
No, it's not. There needs to be some kind of balance.
Right, between protecting your ideas and fostering collaboration.
Exactly.
So where do you stand on all of this?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, there are valid points on both sides.
Right.
On the one hand, secrecy creates this anticipation and a sense of mystery,
Yeah.
and it helps ensure that the final product is really polished.
But on the other hand, it can be frustrating for fans
Yeah.
who want more information and a sense of community,
Exactly. And it can create these unrealistic expectations.
which leads to disappointment.
Right. It's a trade-off.
So what does all this mean for the future of Rockstar?
And for the gaming industry in general.
Yeah, will this trend of secrecy continue?
Or will things become more transparent?
It's hard to say,
Yeah.
especially with technology and gamer expectations always changing.
But Rockstar's approach has definitely had an impact
Oh, yeah. They've shown that secrecy can be a really powerful tool.
when it's used strategically,
And we're seeing other companies adopt similar strategies.
for sure. But will it last?
Who knows?
It'll be interesting to see how Rockstar adapts as the gaming world changes.
Yeah, they've built an empire on secrecy.
But can that empire survive
Yeah.
in a world that's becoming more and more transparent?
Well, that's a great question. It really is a high wire act. And you know what's so interesting to me?
That's
It's not just about keeping the development secrets hush-hush.
okay.
It's like they're crafting this image, controlling the story.
Right.
Even when it comes to acknowledging the people who make the games,
Okay.
like they downplay individual contributions
Right.
and focus on the Rockstar brand as a whole.
Yeah, like this unified front.
Yeah, exactly. Like a hive mind almost.
The Rockstar machine.
Right. This unstoppable force just pumping out these massive games.
That become these cultural phenomena.
But doesn't it ever backfire?
What do you mean?
Like, is there a point where that facade cracks?
I see what you're saying.
Rockstar fans are passionate.
Well, yeah, they are.
They crave information,
Connection.
right? So could all this secrecy actually push them away?
It's possible. There's a fine line between creating intrigue and alienating your audience.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've talked about how some people criticize Rockstar's approach.
Right. They feel left out.
Yeah, like they're being kept at a distance.
It's kind of like a paradox, isn't it?
How so?
Well, they create these immersive worlds that people want to get lost in,
Right.
but they keep the real world behind those worlds totally secret.
It's like, come play in our world, but don't ask too many questions about how we made it.
Yeah, exactly. I get the business strategy behind it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it feels a little cold.
I know what you mean. It's very calculated.
Very controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to compare that with studios that are more open with their fans.
Oh, yeah. You see developers on forums and stuff.
Right. Sharing behind-the-scenes details.
And even using fan feedback.
Yeah, it creates a real sense of community.
Yeah, a shared passion.
Like a different kind of magic.
It really is. So do you think there's a middle ground?
What do you mean?
Like, could Rockstar keep some of that mystery,
Okay.
but be a bit more human?
Maybe. Like, what if they released documentaries or behind-the-scenes features,
Yeah.
showing the creative process and the people?
I think fans would love that.
It would satisfy some of their curiosity.
And it would show that they're not just a corporation
Right, they're real people.
who love making games.
Yeah, it would make them more relatable.
More accessible.
And who knows, maybe it would even lead to more creative games.
That's a great point. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Rockstar's secrecy, what's the one thing you hope people take away from this conversation?
I think the most important thing to remember is that Rockstar's approach is a deliberate choice.
Okay.
It's a strategy.
Right.
It's not about being arrogant. It's about controlling their story.
Maximizing their impact.
Exactly, and protecting their brand.
And it's been effective.
Oh, yeah, super effective.
They've built one of the most successful brands in gaming
And they did it their way.
on their own terms.
Yeah, and I think it's important for gamers to understand that strategy.
Right. To see the motivations behind it.
Yeah, it helps us understand their games better.
Appreciate the craft
And the calculation.
that goes into making these huge games.
They become cultural events.
So next time you play a Rockstar game, think about all the secrecy surrounding it
All the night.
and all the mystery.
And ask yourself,
Yeah.
does it make the game better or does it make you want more?
That's the question we all have to answer for ourselves.
There's no right or wrong answer.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the world behind the curtain of one of gaming's most secretive companies.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. We hope this deep dive has given you some new insights.
And perspectives.
And as always, keep the conversation going.
Share your thoughts.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Challenge the status quo.
And demand the kind of games we want to see.
Because in the end, it's the players who have the power.
It's our voices that shape the future of gaming.
So let's use them.
That's a great call to action. And on that note, we're wrapping up this episode of The Deep Dive.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and those controllers charged.